Okay, can you tell us what your name is and how old you are?
So my name's Jonty Smith, and my age is 55 years of age.
Okay. And we just met you here at Nina Manzi in Shelley Road in Salt River. Can you tell us how you ended up, being here? When you told me you are living on the streets currently, right?
So I generally come here daily for breakfast. And obviously when the showers are operational on the certain days, I also come here for a shower, yeah.
Okay. So when they're open, you use their facilities?
Definitely, yeah.
Okay. And how have you found their facilities to be?
Facilities are amazing. I mean, the offering that JP does is very consistent. It's breakfast and lunch every day. The showers, as far as I know, it's Mondays and Fridays. Fridays and Tuesdays. And yeah, it's an essential service that they offer because, obviously personal hygiene is not something that you can maintain without hot water and access to water. On the streets, even getting access to toilets can be difficult. Fresh water can be difficult.
Yes. And I suppose soaps and
and
hygiene products,
packs and things like that. Yeah, it's not easy. So any service that's kind of related to that is essential.
Okay. And then tell us, what was the process that, how did you end up on the streets or homeless?
How did I end up homeless? I guess it all centers around my addiction. I have been addicted to heroin for over 30 years. I started using synthetic opiates in the army, actually, in 1988. I was on the border, and I was 700 kilometers inside Angola, and in a war situation, there's always a lot of morphine around, and we used to get it from the medics, and that's where I started using opiate drugs. Yeah.
Yes. And what did that opiate drug do for you?
Well, it relaxes you, it calms you down, it numbs you completely, and it kind of takes away all worries and fear and stuff like that.
Okay. And was it a traumatizing experience being,
Well, definitely. I was in a war zone. I was there at the height of an operation called Operation Hooper, which was one of the biggest forward offensives of the Angolan Bush War. So it was pretty hectic, yeah. And I was 18, and to be that young and stuck in the middle of something that you don't really want to be stuck in is quite traumatic, I mean, there I lived in a hole in the ground for 8 months.
Just there, kind of in and
out.
Well,
yeah, in a what they used to call it a bivvy.
Yes.
Which is just a hole in the ground with a raincoat over it and sand over it. And access to 1 liter of water a day.
Yes.
And by that time, the Cubans were in Angola. The Russians. UNITA, it was a whole thing, yeah.
And what did you see there that was traumatizing?
A lot of death, a lot of dead bodies, a lot of blown up bodies, a lot of horrible stuff, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think the opiates was kind of released from that experience?
Well, yeah, it was definitely, at that stage, it was like a fear thing, because every night you would go to sleep kind of wondering, am I going to survive the next day? Because there were situations where you would sit with somebody at breakfast, eating your rat pack, and by 11 o'clock that same day, you were clearing that person's dead body out of a vehicle. I was in the technical services course. So I drove a big breakdown truck. So it was like our job to pull out vehicles that had been hit. And yeah, it's pretty grim.
And did the government give you any assistance afterwards, after coming back? Financial or, counseling?
No financial. They did offer counseling, but I can tell you now, at that stage of the military hospitals weren't renowned for offering good psychiatric or sort of services that we wanted. Yeah, we were very suspicious of it anyway.
And where are you originally from?
I'm from Cape Town, born and bred in Cape Town.
Tell me about that. Where in Cape Town?
I grew up in Oranjezicht. I come from I was part of a single parent family. I have 3 elder siblings, so 4 children in all. My dad died when I was very young, so I grew up with a mother who was amazing. She worked extremely hard to provide for her children, and I mean, I had a good upbringing, so to speak. I had a lot of sexual abuse as a child. I was sexually abused from the age of 4 to 9. Funny enough, by my uncle, who was within the family unit, and by a cub, like Cub Scouts, like one of their sort of like people that ran that. He also abused me. Yeah.
So how did that impact your life?
Well, it's funny because it kind of like got shut out for a very, very long time, and it was only kind of at the age of 28 that I started getting these flashbacks, and I kind of like it all started coming back to me, and then obviously it affected my life in that I became very hypersexual as a teenager. I was exposed to sex from a very young age, and I would start acting out, in terms of like my sexual sort of like, just hypersexual, and that also caused me to seek out drugs from a very early age. I started smoking marijuana at the age of 13. By 16, I'd already tried Mandrax. Before I'd even matriculated, I think I'd tried LSD as well, like hallucinogenics and stuff like that. So drugs were a theme from a very early age.
And was there much support from your family side in this scene?
So here's the one thing. I think when I tried telling my family, I was very young. Yes. It was, I don't think they believed me, especially because it was my uncle. They didn't believe me. It was only later on in life that they came to believe me that it had happened. I think my mother didn't want to believe that it actually happened,
Okay, and then you went to, you did the war, or you were on the border?
Conscription, so I was conscripted for 2 years.
Yeah. And then you came back? What happened then?
Well, funny enough, when I came back from the army, I was really, really motivated, and very, very motivated to work and to because you feel like your life's been a bit wasted for 2 years. So I started working and built myself up.
What kind of work?
I started then in music retail. I used to work in music shops, but that quickly progressed, and I ended up working for some of the biggest record companies in the world. I don't know if I can mention their names, like Gallo Records, Sony Music Entertainment. I got into sales and then eventually into the marketing departments. But again, that industry was all about, living a sort of party lifestyle and getting paid for it.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and that's kind of like why I sorted out maybe too,
Okay, but then how exactly did you become that the homelessness come about? Then you said it was because of the addiction.
So the homelessness came about much later on. So to give you the exact dates, I became homeless in 2010 until 2018. So that was 8 years I was on the streets here in this area.
Around Salt River,
Observatory. Okay. I then got offered help by an organization called the Obs Pasta Kitchen. Okay. And they sponsored me to go to treatment. I went to treatment in the Karoo at a place called Inner Peace. And I managed to sustain my recovery for 4 years.
And you were off the street at that stage?
And I was off the street.
Okay.
Yeah. And I relapsed beginning of 2024. So I came back onto the street. I got involved. I turned my whole life around, managed to become self-sustainable, had my own flat, my own car, everything. And then got into a very toxic relationship, which I shouldn't have got into in retrospect. And yeah, I ended up being in this very, very toxic relationship. It ended and I had nowhere to go. I had nothing to fall back on. I also had a very good job at the time and was retrenched from my job.
That's in 2024, right? It's quite recent.
No, actually in 23, November 2023, I was retrenched.
Okay, and then that kind of series of events happened.
Yeah, so then obviously, the series of events happened. Obviously, I wasn't earning. I struggled to find work again, and eventually the relationship just got, it just became too difficult to maintain, and I got kicked out basically of the house and I had nowhere to go. Yeah.
Okay. And family?
Family are all overseas. Yeah. Okay. So my parents are both deceased and my brothers and sisters are all overseas.
They can't offer assistance?
Well, no, they've I'm 55, and they've got families, kids of their own. I can't rely on them, and also they have tried a lot in the past to help me, given me a lot of assistance, and a lot of times it's kicked them in the teeth, and so I get it. They're very much hands off, It's not that they're not caring, but they're very much hands off, It's for me to sort out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and currently where are you sleeping now?
I sleep under, it's called, well, we call it under the bridge, but it's in
observatory.
In observatory,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I've seen quite a few people there.
Yeah.
Seems to be left alone.
Well, we kind of are herded there by Obsid. We're not allowed to sleep anywhere else in the area, so you can't just go and sleep anywhere else. They kind of like herd us into one area.
Yes.
Which is confusing because then law enforcement come and tell us that we can't stay there, which it just confuses me. But anyway,
I think Laura, who we interviewed, also stays there.
Yes,
she's still there or not?
Yeah, she's still there. Yeah.
Okay. Do you speak to her sometimes?
Yes, yeah, she sleeps like close to me.
Okay.
Yeah, we talk all the time.
Okay. And what is it like staying close to her?
That's cool. Yeah. She's a cool person.
Yeah.
Strong woman. She has to be in that environment. It's not the greatest environment because it's also been infiltrated by gangsterism.
Yes,
a lot of gangsters. A certain gang from Woodstock has infiltrated in that area. What they do is they vie for the drug trade in the area.
Okay. That's trading drugs to the homeless people.
Well, or to anyone, homeless and to anyone who would want. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so you're staying in that area now, and are you still on any kind of drug?
Yeah, I'm still currently on heroin. I'm in the process, for me to get off, I have to get medication, which would cost me around about 800 Rand a month. And I'm in the process of attending meetings at TB-HIV to get onto their opiate replacement therapy program at the moment.
What is that association, or what is that?
It's they're an NGO called TB-HIV. They do all the so they hand out packs of needles and to combat the spread of HIV and hepatitis. So you get clean needles and stuff from them.
Okay.
They then have a program whereby you can get replacement therapy, but you have to kind of show commitment to the program, and they ask you to go to 8 meetings before they sign you up onto the medication.
Oh, okay.
So I'm currently in that process trying to get the medication.
Yes. Okay, and it's not something that you can just kind of give up cold turkey. Obviously, it's a process.
No, it's not like the heroin withdrawal is not fun. And it's not safe to.
Yes.
to kind of do it without any sort of like medical assistance, you know.
Yes. What
Yeah.
is it like coming to withdraw from that?
It's awful. Your body aches. You can't. You shiver. You get diarrhea. You get vomiting. You get. There's a lot of like negative, horrible
it feels like
side
you're dying,
effects.
type of thing.
Yeah, it's just.
not
It's not. It's
yeah.
not nice.
Okay. And so what have you learned from this whole process?
What have I learned from this whole process? Wow.
What's the biggest lesson you know in your life, you think?
That kindness is probably the most important thing. You know, being kind, just being a kind human being. One of the things I struggle the most with on the streets is not necessarily the harassment. It's the sort of the stigma that is associated with you and attached to you, and the way people look down upon you for being homeless. It's hurtful, and to be on the receiving side of that.
Yeah. What do you think the stigma is?
I don't know. And funny enough, it's white people I find it the most who are threatened. I don't know why they feel threatened by my homelessness. But really
feel unsafe, maybe.
But they can be very, very nasty, you know, and say nasty things, and it kind of wears you down, you know.
What kind of things do people say?
It's like, you know, it's not what they say. It's like the look. It's like the look and the sniggers, and I can't tell you what they say, but it's like almost like it's almost like it's easier for them to focus on you. I don't know how to explain it. I really don't.
Okay, so it's more like
but it's very prevalent amongst. I find more kindness from black and colored people, you know, than I do from my own color. And I hate to bring race into it, but it's very much a racial thing. Okay. White people are just particularly nasty.
Okay. Yeah, judgmental, I suppose.
And judgmental, yeah.
And you probably see quite a lot of interesting things on streets, right?
Yes.
What's the most interesting thing you've seen?
Wow, I've seen.
Or funny, or.
Funny.
Yeah.
I once was walking down Mowbray Main Road.
Yeah.
And I saw a horse running down Main Road in the opposite direction with a carriage on, with a whole lot of scrap metal on the back, and no one on the carriage. And the horse was at full gallop. And it was going in the opposite direction, and you can imagine there were cars everywhere. The carriage was doing banging into everything. Things were flying. Yeah, that's one of the strange things I've seen.
Anything else?
Wow. I have seen many, many strange things. Too many probably to even remember right now off the top of my head.
Because you're always kind of observing, right? You're always kind of on, so you can see everything.
Well, you're always on, you know, like when you're on the street, you're always on high alert. You know, like sleep is
so it's not safe.
Yeah, it's not safe. You never feel like comfortable. Like you can't just be off guard, you know. Like a guy came up to me yesterday. I was walking again down towards Mowbray, and I just bought this Mediterranean roll from Pick n Pay. I was just about to like tuck into it while I was walking, and out of my like peripheral vision, I saw this guy coming across the street, and he just grabbed my roll out of my hand. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to tell you what I did afterwards.
What did you do?
I swung at him and punched him.
Did you get your roll back?
Definitely. Okay. It was in pieces on the floor, but I got it back.
And you ate it?
I definitely.
Yes, of course. Okay, and how can people help you? How can they find you? How can they help you? Well,
find me, I reckon, through this establishment would probably be the best way to get a message to JP or to anybody associated here. You know, I'm very keen to work. I would love to do furniture restoration and stuff like that. I love working with my hands. yeah, anything like that would be really cool.
Do you have an education?
I do. I have a matric.
Okay.
And I have like quite an extensive CV.
CV, yes. Yeah. Okay, so if they had any kind of odd job or any kind of furniture, restoration works, you'd be interested
I'd love to. I mean, I'd love to actually just like be able to start my own little thing, you know, with furniture restoration. I know that's like pie in the sky, but that's ultimately what I would like to do. Yeah.
And what have you been doing in the last year or two to get off the streets?
Odd jobs, you know, so painting here and there, I worked in an antique store, helping out there for a bit.
Yeah. And you were saying there's a bit of harassment on the streets by, is it, security companies or?
Security companies, law enforcement, yeah, they are very heavy-handed.
Okay. Yeah. Do they just kind of take your stuff, or what happens?
Well, yeah, they'll come and confiscate stuff when people are not there. They will take things like your medication. They'll take ID books. They'll just randomly load stuff onto their vans and just drive off. You know, like I lost a really expensive sleeping bag a couple of weeks back because I wasn't there, you know. And they just loaded our stuff onto sleeping bags. Lara was physically almost harassed as well by them. I mean, I've seen women like physically manhandled and hit by law enforcement officers.
And why do they take the IDs? What's the purpose of that?
Well, I don't think they're purposely taking IDs. What I'm saying is they take stuff, but IDs are in there, you know, medication is in that bag. They're not purposely going and searching for an ID, but they're not, you know, they're taking people's personal belongings. We're on the street, but we still, you know, I still have a wallet with my bank cards in, and, you know, they just take your stuff. It's like me coming because your handbag's there and just taking it and throwing it away and saying that's okay.
And what do you think is the answer to the homelessness in Cape Town?
The answer, I think the answer to a lot of South Africa's problem is the 40% unemployment rate, for one. Yeah.
Okay, so just more jobs.
Unemployment is like, it's radical, you know, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can offer a complete solution to it, but it would definitely assist.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for talking to us. Is there anything else you'd like people to know about you or people on the street?
Just be kind, you know, because anybody can end up homeless, you know. A lot of people in this country are one paycheck away from being homeless.
Oh, yes.
So count your blessings and be grateful for what you have.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank
All the best to you.
Thanks.